So let's just face it, the Zelda timeline is this beautiful, confusing, convoluted mess. And if we're being real about it, the whole Zelda fandom is pretty divided because of it. On one hand, you have fans who are super obsessed with every aspect of the lore. And on the other hand, you have fans who want to ignore it. Because in reality, it can kind of limit the whole Zelda franchise. And even Eiji Aonuma, the producer of the Zelda series, agrees, as he made this quote fairly recently, talking about how the story itself can sometimes limit what they want to do with the games. And I think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are evidence of that, as they tried to completely separate those two Zelda games from the previous Zelda timeline. And that's part of what I'm talking about today. As things currently stand, I have a really small Zelda/Metroid channel, and recently I put up a video that is now up to 25,000 views talking about this recent development, where apparently a new Zelda timeline just dropped. Based on this photo, it looks like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are completely separate from the main timeline, and that is what I declared in that video. But since then, I've got some new information, and now I feel a little bit unsure about it. Basically, I want to give a shout out to the channel Zeltic. I've been following his channel for a while, and he does a really excellent job talking about different aspects of the lore, and he put out a very interesting video that I'll have linked in the pinned comment, so definitely take a moment to go check it out. But essentially, in the video, he presents evidence saying that this new Zelda timeline drop isn't really proof that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom aren't connected to this same timeline. Yes, there's clearly a divide on this photo, but there was also this quote in 2017 that says that Breath of the Wild was put so far into the distant future that it really doesn't have much connection to the games before it. Technically, it's in the same world, and technically, it's in the same timeline, but it's so far into the future. Who knows just how far into the future it is, but apparently it's so far that it only has the most minor and subtle connections to the previous games before it. But with that being said, at some point these two timelines could connect. But that was a creative decision by Eiji Aonuma and the developers of Breath of the Wild. They wanted that freedom, and they didn't want to be limited and confined to follow previous Zelda games. And because of that reason, I honestly don't know if they'll ever merge that gap. So is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom actually a part of the same timeline? Well, the answer is yes, but it's also kind of no. It's technically in that same universe, but when those portrayals of the universe are thousands of years apart, does it really matter? And that's where I think the truth about the Zelda timeline comes in. It's this very divisive topic that fans don't really seem to agree on. Like I said earlier, some people want to acknowledge it, know everything about it, and want other games to tie into it, while other fans want to pretend it doesn't exist, doesn't want to embrace it, and feels that it's already too convoluted to try to make sense of in the first place. I find myself a little bit in between. Although I enjoy learning aspects about the Zelda lore and sharing it on my channel, I also understand that this whole thing is really confusing, and there's a whole lot of holes in the lore the more you think about it. If I'm being honest, I do want Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom to be separate. That is what I want. But not necessarily from a lore aspect, but just from an aspect of the games. I am a traditional Zelda fan, and we haven't got a brand new traditional Zelda game in a long time. Basically since Skyward Sword, and that release was many years ago. Yes, we did get Link's Awakening, but that was a remake of an old game. And we do have Echoes of Wisdom coming up in the near future, and based on what I can tell, it looks like that'll probably be in the Fallen Hero timeline. My hope is that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom isn't what Zelda is from this point on. I'm okay getting more games like that, but I also want traditional Zelda games as well, and I think that's what most of us traditional Zelda fans fear. That this is the new normal, this is the new standard. These will be all the mainline Zelda games we get from this point on. So from that perspective, that's why I want the two to be separate. So with that being said, I do apologize for the last video that didn't quite have all of the information, and now that I have more, I wanted to make a correction with this video, explain where I stand, and also send you a link to Zeltic's video if you want to dig further into the lore. Ultimately, I love both Breath of the Wild Zelda and the traditional Zelda, and as long as we get both of those two styles in future releases, then there will be no complaints from me, even if the story continues to be convoluted. So now I'm asking you guys, how do you feel about the Zelda timeline? Do you even care? Do you prefer that we just ignore it, or do you think it's Nintendo's responsibility to make sense of it? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more Zelda and Metroid content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.